Good, happy Tuesday morning, November 6th, 2018. And happy Election Day, everyone. Go out and vote today. It is very important to do so. Let's begin with your morning newscast. First up, candidates for governor optimistic on eve of election. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
First out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
It's not just election eve at the Exeter headquarters for Republican Governor Chris Sununu. Congressional candidate Eddie Edwards and campaign volunteers were also there to celebrate the governor's birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris.
Governor Sununu, now 44 years old, is the youngest governor in the nation. His wish this year, a second term in office.
We're very proud of not just the campaign that we've run, but everything we've gotten done for the state. And at the end of the day, we know that'll not just carry us across the line, but carry, I think, the Republican ticket.
Challenger Democrat Molly Kelly, a former 5-term state senator, was campaigning from familiar ground tonight in Keene, where she went to college.
I'm energized. I'm very positive. I've been out, all day today and every day, and just the energy that I feel, the motivation, the momentum that's happening, and people are excited. They've been waiting to vote, and they're ready to go.
And some polls show this race tightening. The polls that really count, they open in a few hours, and by this time tomorrow night, we should have some results. We are live in Exeter tonight. Gene Mackin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. District 1 candidates reach out to voters on last day of campaign. Let's take a listen to this video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
America's mayor, who is now President Trump's lawyer, was in Manchester Monday, giving a last-minute boost to Eddie Edwards in the final hours of campaign 2018.
Vote for his opponent, you're voting for Nancy Pelosi, and you're voting for Jerry Nadler, and you're voting for Maxine Waters. These are the people that are going to run things.
For Edwards, this in-person link to the president is an important signal to the Trump voters who turned out in droves in the 1st Congressional District in 2016.
I want to be someone who supports America First agendas. I think it's time that we stand up for American families. I don't think there's any shame in making sure that American families are taken care of.
In Derry, Chris Pappas teamed up with former Governor John Lynch for a stop at Mary Ann's Diner. Lynch says Pappas is a leader who wants to unite rather than divide.
Even when I was governor, people would say they want us to work together. And that's not happening in Washington. And Chris will be a positive force for bringing people together.
Pappas says, in contrast to Edwards, he's not looking to go to Washington as an ally of President Trump.
I think at the end of the day, this election's about checks and balances and who's going to put the people of New Hampshire first and fight the forces in Washington that are undermining our success right here in the Granite State.
Important to remember, both of these candidates overperformed expectations in the primary, winning by wider than expected margins. So not only is this a well-matched race when it comes to resumes, with Pappas and his business background and Edwards and his service record, the numbers also show that these are candidates voters generally like. It is a real clash of the titans in CD1 tomorrow. Mike?
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Custer, Negron make a final push ahead of Election Day. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
There are so many reasons why Ippolito's Furniture specializes in furniture made in the USA. American.
Democrat Annie Custer hopes voters will send her back to Washington, where she says she fights for New Hampshire values every day. We caught up with her at a campaign office in Lebanon. She also made stops in New London, Hanover, and Claremont today. We found Republican Steve Negron holding signs in Peterborough after he visited Nashua, Wilton, Temple, and Keene. Negron says the 2nd District is ready for a change and that he'd bring a new approach to Congress.
Very big issues to us. The opiate issue hasn't gotten better in the 6 years with Congresswoman Custer. The veterans that I'm talking about, being a veteran myself, you know, what's going on with the VA Medical Center, that hasn't gotten better.
We care about our schools, we care about our environment, we care about everybody, whatever their religion or background. We are the party that cares.
Steve Negron will watch the election results come in tomorrow night from Nashua, while Annie Custer will be in Concord. Reporting live in Peterborough, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Everything to know about Massachusetts 2018 midterm elections. After months of crisscrossing the Commonwealth, candidates will watch as the voters of Massachusetts cast their ballots in the 2018 midterm elections Tuesday. Polls in Massachusetts will open at 7 a.m. and remain open through 8 p.m. There's no escaping the impact President Donald Trump has had on the midterm elections, even in Massachusetts, where polling shows him to be deeply unpopular with the majority of the state's voters. Democratic governor candidate Jay has tried to take Republican Governor Charlie Baker to task for not being forceful enough in his criticism of Trump, even though the incumbent has repeatedly rebuffed White House policies and the president himself over the past couple of years. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, a possible presidential contender in 2020, has often used her Republican challenger Jeffrey Hale as a foil for Trump as she seeks re-election to the Senate. Massachusetts voters on Tuesday will also decide races for the U.S. House and legislature, other state and county officers, and 3 statewide ballot initiatives, including a first-in-the-nation vote on a transgender rights law. A closer look at some of the key races Tuesday. And here is a closer look, everyone. Governors, U.S. Senate, U.S. House, and ballot questions, and the turnout. Please do not forget to vote today, everyone. It's very important. Candidates for Governor crisscross Maine to reach voters. Let's take a listen to the video from WMTW News 8 Jim Keithley.
I want you to keep your elbows straight.
CPR has changed. Bystanders no longer have to worry about mouth-to-mouth or checking for a pulse on.
Republican Sean Moody meeting with hungry diners at Dysart's in Bangor. Right by his side, First Lady Ann LePage. Moody saying he's ready to carry the torch, and Governor Paul LePage is holding for him. Moody says he's feeling confident.
And it's just a lot of support for us, a lot of grassroots support from all walks of life. So we're feeling really positive.
Equally confident Democrat Janet Mills, hoping to be the first female governor in Maine. She's putting on the miles to make sure she gets elected, traveling to the county, Republican territory, she says. She also made her way to Dysart, the truck stop in Herman, where she says Republicans have said they're voting for her.
Getting a good response. You know, when you walk down any main street in any town or city in Maine and people come up to you, say they're voting for you, that feels good.
And independent candidate Terry Hayes also putting the pedal to the metal, trucking up to Aroostook County to spread her message among the Rotary Club in Presque Isle.
And First Lady LePage probably summed it up best when she described the final hours of any campaign as work, work, and more work, as all three of these candidates are giving it their all to the bitter end. We're live in Herman tonight. Jim Keithley, WMTW News 8.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Candidates for 2nd District say economy, healthcare, top issues for voters. Let's take a listen to the video from WMTW News 8 Paul Merrill.
We know that exercise is the biggest predictor of how well you're going to live with or without heart.
Are you getting prepared to... We caught up with Bruce Pollock outside a New Auburn diner this morning. He says this election is all about jobs and the economy.
We've got to keep this economy going forward. No other candidate has experience doing as I do.
Jared Golden rallied with supporters on a Lewiston street corner. Here's what he told us is the primary concern among voters.
Healthcare. This one's all healthcare, Paul. We've been talking about that for over 15 months now.
Early in his congressional career, Pollock voted to keep the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, in place. More recently, he voted to repeal it and replace it with a Republican plan.
My son Sam has a pre-existing condition. I always vote for every legislation that protects those with pre-existing conditions. But we got to drive down the cost of health insurance. We got to continue to work on this. It's not fixed.
Golden frames the health care issue in terms of making sure Maine's rural hospitals can survive.
People need access to care. We need those hospitals to be open, but it's economic too. All the jobs that are there in the healthcare sector is critically important. So it's a double whammy, really. It's about healthcare and it's about the economy.
Tomorrow will be the first time Mainers use ranked choice voting in a general congressional election. Golden says win or lose, he will accept the outcome. You'll accept any ranked choice voting results tomorrow.
I think that's the classy thing to do, is listen to the people of Maine. This is the system that they've chosen twice now.
Poliquin will not make a similar commitment.
Vote once, one and done. Check off Bruce Poliquin, drop it in the box.
Now get this, there is a way that tomorrow a candidate would have won under the old system with a simple plurality on election day, but would actually go on to lose under the ranked choice voting system after second, third, and fourth place votes are tabulated. That's not a long shot. It could happen. Now, neither the Poliquin nor the Golden campaign would own up to specifically bracing for that type of legal battle, but if that happens, we may not know the winner for a long time, and because of that, we may not know, conceivably, the balance of power in Washington while these two fight it out in court. It all depends how the votes come tabulated tomorrow, but that's the latest live here in Auburn tonight. Paul Merrill, WMTW News 8.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And U.S. Senate candidates make final push ahead of Election Day. Let's take a listen to the video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
I want you to keep your elbows straight.
CPR has changed. Bystanders no longer have to worry about mouth to mouth.
Angus King making his closing argument for a second 6-year term as U.S. Senator. King campaigned this afternoon in Auburn and Lewiston before visiting a Portland phone bank targeting his supporters. King says this election has life or death consequences over health care and pre-existing conditions, curbing the opioid epidemic, and combating climate change.
I'm very proud of the campaign that we've run because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but every ad that you've seen for my campaign has been positive. It's been about what I'm seeing, what I'm working on, people that have worked with me over the years.
And Democrat Zach Ringelstein made a last-minute push in York County today.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And polling shows higher voter turnout, including millennial voters as well. European stocks open higher despite political uncertainty. Earnings in focus. Stocks in Europe were mixed Tuesday morning as investors tried to navigate through different sources of political uncertainty. And here's a look at the market right now. And this is a look right here. On election eve, Trump continues to play up military's role at the border. By the end of Monday, there will be 5,200 active duty service members serving along the border in what is officially a support mission to Customs and Border Protection. But on the eve of the midterm election, President Donald Trump continues to play the deployment as the campaign issue. And that does it for the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.